Hi everyone, I'm Michael.
And I'm Patrick, and you're watching another episode of Star Wars News and Views. Today we'll be talking about the Rise of Skywalker trailer, which released somewhat recently, and Mike and I have had a chance to watch it and obviously scrutinize it a little bit, and look through it and try to, I guess, talk about what, now that we've seen the last footage of the movie that we're going to see before it, we can kind of go over our predictions of what's going to happen in the movie and kind of what we expect.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the last serious video we make on the subject before not having seen the movie.
Right, yeah.
We've seen pretty much all the footage there is to see without having seen the movie. I mean, the TV ads usually have a couple more seconds but of new footage, but whatever.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything
Nothing
major.
shocking.
Yeah.
So
far I would say that I've noticed there's a lot of spaceships, which sounds weird, but the Resistance got, like, in the last movie got broken down to like a very small force, and now we're seeing like a whole bunch of like spaceships. Like it seems like they've built up again. I don't know like really what that's about, but I think that they've kind of like found other people or found other Resistance members, because it feels like there's a lot more people coming in.
I guess it seems like, from what I've heard from J.J. Abrams talking about it, it seems like it's sort of supposed to be like, it's not just the conclusion of this trilogy, it's the conclusion to the 9-episode saga, so it is actually the like ultimate conclusion, the ultimate showdown of like good versus evil.
Yeah.
Because Return of the Jedi was kind of supposed to be that, but now since that's
There's
no
more.
longer the conclusion,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of the reason why people are going to criticize this as being Return of the Jedi Part 2.
Yeah.
The Emperor's back. There's the second Death Star.
I'm not surprised, I guess, but like, at one point it's like, all right, well, we're going to kill him in this movie. How do we know he's dead this time again? Like, how many times can you go through the same story, essentially, which I'm not happy about?
So they're teasing, Rey goes to the dark side, which we all know is a fake out of some kind.
Yeah.
We don't know how that's going to play. But anyway, I think, like, if the Force Awakens was like, oh, it's just like A New Hope, this is going to be like, well, it's kind of like Return of the Jedi. Kylo Ren may or may not be redeemed.
Yeah,
in some
they're kind of like trying to hide it, but he's probably going to be. Like, I'm pretty sure they're like, they're gonna make him good at some point. I mean, for what it's worth, I don't mind that. Like, we'll see, but I think that the idea is, yes, if he's gonna try to conclude it in a satisfactory way, he's gonna make it like Return of the Jedi, which I think is what most people want anyways, and like, I'm okay with that, I suppose.
It kind of has to be, just by the nature of being the conclusion to the whole franchise. And we're saying like, oh, why did you bring back the Emperor? Well, it's like, well, he's kind of been the villain through the first 6, and it would be weird.
Well, he's the villain in the first 3 and then the 6th movie, but he wasn't really in the like...
Well, but he's responsible for it.
He is, but he wasn't really in it, and I guess that's maybe what they should do with this one, is like, oh, he wasn't in it until the very end, and now he's the big bad for the franchise again.
It turns out he's been behind it the whole time, which I think is what they're going to do with regards to Rey's birth and her heritage. It's like, did he create her or
right, yeah.
somehow?
There's some ideas, and like this is kind of a theory that I've heard floating around, is that like he was responsible for the creation of Anakin in some way, using like he's like trying to make like a Force like host body for himself or something. So Anakin was supposed to be one of those and wasn't. Now Rey might be one of those and might not be. Like, there's this idea that she was also created in a very similar way to Anakin.
And that Darth Sidious is Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Just in taking on different forms throughout time. So he's almost like this symbolic force of evil in the galaxy that has just gone generationally through.
That's pretty... I think that's pretty like high level kind of stuff. It might be a little bit much for like just a Star Wars like kids kind of movie for people, like,
right?
But it's possible, and it'd be kind of a cool like way to conclude it, I guess.
And it does kind of, that is sort of taking inspiration from the comic book storyline of Dark Empire, where it turns out after Return of the Jedi, it is not canon anymore, but the Emperor's spirit had survived the Death Star explosion, and he creates a clone body of himself to sort of reincarnate himself, essentially, his spirit.
And they could be taking inspiration from it. It's not going to be the same story, but it could be like heavily inspired by this, because J.J. Abrams probably has read these and knows about it.
He would have been a teenager at the time that came out, so it makes, and also the Lucasfilm Story Group is working with him.
Right.
So I think they're. I mean, we know that the Emperor's in the movie.
We saw him in that weird moving chair at one point.
It's been confirmed, right? So that's not a secret. So his spirit did, like, his body must have been obliterated by that explosion, right?
Yeah.
So his spirit has survived, and it apparently has a new physical form of some kind, it seems.
Right, or some way to embody some other physical form or something. But like, you know, the Force ghosts exist. We know people persist throughout death, and that's kind of like...
And that also could explain the Dark Rey thing, that's like the Emperor's form, because when you see him in the chair, you just see the hood, which is what Dark Rey has. I guess that's what
when they had the dual lightsaber, the red one that she was having, so maybe like it's another body that he can inhabit or something.
And as much as like, and also getting back to the idea of the Emperor taking on different forms, like maybe that's what Snoke was, right?
Right.
Because you have to kind of explain Snoke in some way, like what was that about?
Yeah.
Like I don't really fault Rian Johnson per se for pulling a fast one and killing him off, but like, all right, but that has to be resolved. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, why was he in
Where
charge?
Where were you going with that? Where did he come from?
Yeah.
There has to be, at some point, something. It's okay that Last Jedi didn't provide that, but you have to follow up on that at some point.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you follow what I call the expanded universe for the comics and novels, they've been kind of tying that in, I think unwittingly, because they didn't know where the story was going when they started it. But that during the time of the original trilogy, the Emperor sensed some like great power in the Outer Rim regions, and he was kind of like building this contingency plan to like getting that power somehow.
Which is why he wanted to make this entire like empire, like you know, army ready and like
and when the Empire fell, the remains of it went to the Outer Rims, and that's where the First Order came from, and that's where Snoke came from. So that could be explained in that.
Yeah,
sense.
I'm assuming we'll get some kind of explanation about that.
And I don't know if and that may explain why in the trailer we see the original trilogy era Star Destroyers. It's almost like as if they're like a ghost fleet.
Yeah,
it's sort of the imagery I'm getting.
It's kind of weird, but like there's a lot of them too, so it feels as though like if we hadn't seen them before in the other movies during like the First Order taking over, like where have they been, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible, a ghost fleet type thing, or they've been hiding out in the Outer Rims, ready to like go for this situation.
So if that's the case, this is very like heavily like steeped in like mythology type of thing, and I'm not sure how they'll actually, because it's going to take a lot of like exposition to explain that, so that's
not a quick thing you can glance
over.
No,
I know. So I think that might be kind of unsatisfying on some level for a lot of people.
Yeah, they have to like find a way to wrap it up. The thing is, there's only one movie left. They can't answer every single question. Which
it does have the longest running time of any Star Wars movie.
Well,
2.5 hours.
Maybe he is going to try to answer a lot of questions. You know, I'm going to be perfectly honest. J.J. Abrams is really good at asking questions, but I don't think he's not providing answers.
He's
so
notorious for that.
We're probably going to get quite a few questions, I think, out of this movie that everyone's going to be like, well, what about that? What about this? What about that? And we're like,
and they want that to lead into future novels. They're deliberately gonna do that for merchandising reasons, essentially.
Right. Which is fine too, but I'm just saying that not all of these things are gonna be concluded in this, which we might want. However, I feel like it's supposed to be the end of the Skywalker series, so that should be really the end of like the Skywalker story.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're planning to do anything else with it after this. So it should be hopefully a good conclusion, but a conclusion no matter what.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me about J.J. Abrams is, like you said, he's notorious for not providing satisfying conclusions.
Yeah.
He's good at starting things up and not satisfyingly concluding them.
Yeah, like Lost and, you know.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that because he's working with other writers and Lucasfilm Story Group, that'll offset that, because as a director, I'm very happy that he's back. I think he's a great director. He's got a great sense of style.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy about that. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking storyline, and it does seem like it's going in a very interesting direction where they're trying to actually tie it all together and wrap it up.
Yeah.
And there's also a rumor that, why is it called Rise of Skywalker? It's kind of, Rey is created by Palpatine, but she takes on the mantle of Skywalker.
Oh, okay.
So that could be almost like a fake out again, like, because Luke's coming back.
Right.
Ben Solo is a Skywalker.
Yeah.
There's so many different meanings to that title.
There is, and you know, the one thing even before going to this like weird Palpatine stuff is that, like, you know, if Kylo Ren now takes over the First Order, he's like a Skywalker who's also like, you know, it's the rising of him through the ranks and becoming a leader, like, you know, and it can be met in a lot of different ways, but I think the idea is still like, oh, you know, it's the Skywalkers. We're still talking about the Skywalkers. The series about the Skywalkers. So
yeah, and I think because Luke died, he's going to be like mythologized, and it's sort of like now the Skywalker becomes this symbol of hope for the. I mean that's how Last Jedi ends, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. With Luke inspiring the entire like rebel fleet to go against this like tyranny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's really like all we had for now. Obviously a long discussion about what we expect the movie to be, but we will be doing a review of the movie the night that we see it, which we'll get tickets for the first day it's released. So we'll talk more about it, say how our predictions were, obviously, and like, you know, what we liked about the movie and stuff. So look forward to that. But this was just our last going impressions and kind of documented the last things we can think of before seeing this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, leave a comment if you have anything to add. What your impressions and expectations are going
Your crazy Snoke and Palpatine theories.
Yes.
Read those.
And I guess we'll see you next episode.